Welcome. We're live. I'm tired, but I'm here to provide the show for the people. Conan has disappeared today, but I have two wonderful guests who hopefully have more intact voices than mine. Um, this is as loud as my voice goes right now. But welcome, welcome to the show. I feel like Bo's never been on here. Austin, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Quite a while.
Labor Day?
Yeah,
it's been a holiday.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Austin, why don't you tell the people what you've been up to since the last time we had you?
Well, we have fully shifted. I'm one half of the Makeshift Managers podcast. Me and my buddy Devin have a podcast on YouTube. We fully shifted into fantasy football and just like NFL content in general. So we're deep diving into fantasy all off season and draft content and all that jazz, and obviously answering questions and all that stuff during the season. So yeah, that's us. We just finished most of our Dynasty rankings actually, so those are archived, and tonight we'll probably just talk about free agency because me and Devin are both kind of beat up from being sick all weekend.
Yeah, I'm opposed to sicknesses. I don't like those. They're very unfun, and I'm very opposed to those things. Well, that sounds good. And Bo, it's been maybe years since we've chatted. What have you been up to? I know you have your hot sauce situation, but I don't know too much else, to be honest.
And it's been a long time since I've been sick, so knock on wood. I feel amazing today.
It's
the first day of spring, all that jazz.
That is helpful. That is nice.
Yeah, hot sauce business, writing for Fantasy Pros, in between media, pretty much everybody. I'm the ultimate freelancer. I'll just write something on a whim and just give it to somebody to publish. And I like writing. I don't do as much podcasting because I feel a little bit more fish out of water there. I like to be reclusive in my dark little room here and just conjure stuff up with my words. But that's about what I've been doing, is just writing a lot for betting pros, fantasy pros, doing golf and football content, Dynasty, Devy, all that fun stuff that we'd love to dive into. Evaluating prospect season. We're full swing right now, and I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about that today.
Actually, I doubt it. To be honest.
Oh yeah, it's the transactions.
Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt we're going to talk much. Unfortunately,
free agency.
I doubt we're going to. Yeah, well, I'm also. This is not going to be a longer show. So
free agency is not free, guys.
Yeah, I doubt we're going to get to. We're really going to get to the draft very much, because I don't even think we're going to complete my show sheet or get anywhere near that.
It was extensive.
Yes, it's very extensive. I actually wrote one this time. It's very rare for me.
I actually read one this time, and that's rare for me.
Yeah. Well, things happen. But yeah, so you talked about Fantasy Pros. I think everyone watching the show knows what that is. I hope so. But IBT, I know what that is, of course. But I don't think, to be honest with you, given that I started this channel about 1.5 years ago, 2 years, I think that's after I was, not that I was ever involved with IBT, but probably after I stopped, talking about it all that much. And it's not as been like forefront of my mind and all that. So you want to tell the people a little bit more about what that is? Because I honestly think the majority of my audience doesn't know what that is.
So IBT is in between media. It's in-betweenmedia.com. It's headed up by Seth Woolcock. He's an amazing guy. He's a Penn State guy that's an incredible writer and editor. That he actually edits a lot of my work for Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. But that's his website, and he's compiled a bunch of really talented writers that we kind of blur the line between lifestyle and sports. So we'll write about sports, but we weave it into like actual real world lifestyle dilemmas and issues, and so it's kind of like that chicken soup for the soul kind of writing, but it also ties into football and NASCAR and golf and all the things that we're all interested in. We all have relatable things that we share. Like no matter where you're from, you're going to have the same kinds of issues of adulthood and all that stuff that we go through. And so being able to read something that that resonates both on the sports level and the personal level. I think that's what draws me to it. And I have a monthly column that I do a dynasty trade value chart where it's buy, hold, and sell for each position. But then I lead into that with a lifestyle article.
I love that. And Seth will be on the show on April 17th. Far away.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him in a long time. Let's see. Let's get to the questions from the people. I appreciate the people. Oh, okay, let's see here. The 12 team Superflex Start 10 full PPR. Who are you taking at 104? Quarterback or Jackson Smith and Jigba? I've heard it's Russ, Gino, and Cup. The other things. Yeah. Well, okay. Who would you take at 104 in a Superflex?
I love JSN. Like I think that if you're going quarterback, you have to say at 104, you're not going to see the top 2 quarterbacks at least. And then Richardson is a big if because of his mobility. And the only thing that's going to hold Richardson to that 104 in any Superflex draft is the unknowing of whether or not he's going to be starting in his first season. But what I've been seeing in my drafts is Richardson going ahead of Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or both, depending on how high a certain analyst or player has him. For me, I think I'll take the known commodity and take JSN, who I comp to Stephon Diggs. A lot of people kind of pigeonhole him into the slot only role, but he's so much more than that. And I can bank on that kind of skill player lasting a long time in the NFL at a very high level.
Yeah, I would say that I think most people have Bijan Robinson at 1, and then the 3 quarterbacks after that one, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Then JSN at 5 and Gibbs at 6 is pretty much what I've seen. The order of the quarterbacks is the most interesting thing. And that I've seen all over the map, but most of the time, that's what I've seen. I have Bryce Young at 2, CJ Stroud at 3, and Anthony Richardson at 4, and then JSN at 5. So I would take one of the quarterbacks, whichever one was remaining. I just feel like in a Superflex, we know that quarterbacks have the most value. If we look at a startup ADP. In the first round, it's at least 8 of 12 players are quarterbacks. Sometimes it's 9 or 10, but it's at least 8 right now. 8 quarterbacks for sure in the first round. So, yeah, the high end upside is, look, unless you think, and I just don't see him that way, unless you think that JSN has Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson upside, then I got to go with quarterback. And I don't see JSN in that quite. That's how good you have to be to have more upside than a quarterback. You have to be that good. Even being CeeDee Lamb or AJ Brown's not good enough to have more upside than a quarterback in Superflex. You have to be Jefferson or Chase, that good. And JSN to me is not that level of a prospect. Not that Jefferson was. He wasn't. But, you obviously, those come out of nowhere sometimes. Not that Jefferson came out of nowhere, but he wasn't that level as a prospect. Chase was. But I see JSN as more of a normal wide receiver 1 prospect. You get these from time to time. CeeDee Lamb was one. He was definitely a prospect in that group. DJ Moore represented that level of prospect we had a few years ago. Not like a above prospect, but just a really good wide receiver 1 level prospect.
Can I give you the flip side of that coin, though?
Sure.
Is I don't see either of these top quarterbacks, including Richardson, as a QB1 prospect. I see them as at least the first 2 or 3 years of their career as a QB2, like Superflex, your QB2 starter. I don't see them reaching fantasy heights like what we've seen in the past from all over the map and the draft boards is the overinflation of the quarterback position in a rookie draft in Superflex, especially because people are expecting there to be a huge drop off. And in reality, you have Brock Purdy's come out of the woodworks. You have guys that come from mid-round picks that can be equal value because the replacement value of quarterback is almost none. There's almost no difference between a QB1 and a QB12. When in reality, if you have an elite wide receiver over a non-elite wide receiver, there's a huge gap in points per game there. And in a quarterback, you're looking at 3 or 4 points a game difference between a QB1 and a QB3 in rankings. And I just don't see the replacement value of having a quarterback that I don't see as having huge upside. I think they're extremely talented, but I don't think either one of those top 2 guys has extreme upside. Richardson has the upside, but I just don't know if he's going to be developed into that. We don't know that yet. So with that unknown, I'm thinking replacement value wise, I'd rather not overpay for a quarterback because it takes a lot more for a quarterback to become a QB1 than it does for a wide receiver with the pedigree of JSN to turn into a Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. I think he's a lot closer to that than Bryce Young is to a Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be Patrick Mahomes.
No, that's for sure.
That's a tier above. But you can get into the mid to back into the first round and not be Patrick Mahomes in Superflex. Dak was in there for a long time, and Dak was never Patrick Mahomes or anywhere near it.
No.
So you don't have to be that good. Not that Dak wasn't good, but like you don't have to be Patrick Mahomes to get that value. And I personally disagree. I think Bryce Young is a pretty good quarterback prospect.
Oh,
I think
he's awesome.
Deserving of a top overall pick. I would have no problem if my NFL team chose to, or CJ Stroud, no problem if they chose to take him with a 1 or a 2 or 3 overall pick. So if I feel that there's no problem taking them with that kind of pick, then I think that pretty much by the same logic, I have to feel that they're at least, I mean, to be honest, to me, if I want to talk about Bryce Young, the skill level, I see Bryce Young's range of outcomes as Tua minus all the injury problems. There's no injury problem. So I'm going to rank him higher than I ranked Tua coming in because there's no problem. With Tua, there were a lot of problems. With Bryce Young, I had no problem. So just take the range and boost it up a little bit. And I was, Tua I thought was worth a lot coming into the NFL. So I have Bryce Young is worth even more. CJ Stroud, also a great prospect, tested well at the combine, really just kind of checks all the boxes for me. The only box he doesn't check for some people is that he went to Ohio State, which is, of course, ridiculous. How other quarterbacks who did at Ohio State don't. I'm going to judge this quarterback. Let's focus on this one. And Anthony Richardson, yes. Anthony Richardson, I have him at 4 because I feel that he has more risk. But, he also has by far the most upside of the 3. His upside is to be worth what Jalen Hurts is worth now. He's probably never going to be as secure as Patrick Mahomes. He's not that, but the upside is to be worth what Jalen Hurts is now if he hits his ceiling, or what Lamar Jackson was worth before Lamar Jackson has had all of his problems, of which there have been many. So he's lost a little bit of value, but we all remember what he was worth a few years ago. Let's move to the next question here. So Austin, I know that you on your show take a lot of trade questions. Some of them were from me during the season. I put in some questions for you. So why don't you start with this one from Justin? Trying to trade for Brees is Diggs, Akers, Kamara, and 206 in overpay. So why don't you start with that one?
What's the news on Kamara? He's still not suspended so far?
Well, there could be a suspension. There might not be. There's a trial in like July or August. I don't know. I mean, the Jamal Williams signing, I think that happened. That was on our show sheet. That happened between last week's shows and this one.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. I thought that really hurt Kamara's value. But what do you think? Yeah. I mean, is this an overpay?
I really like Breece Hall. Like,
we all do.
I love him, but
right.
The thing is, Derek Carr is not the worst at checking down, and the problem with Kamara is that he had Andy Dalton as his quarterback, and for some reason, Kamara was just literally never involved in the offense besides when he absolutely annihilated the Raiders. So Kamara really burned a lot of people last year. I have no idea what to think about Cam Akers. Stephon Diggs is Stephon Diggs. He has a rocket arm quarterback who is going to heave the ball to him at times. I like Diggs a lot. I believe he's in my top 10 of Dynasty still. I think he's towards the back end, but I'd have to look at my rankings again. I think it's
14, so he's not in my top 10.
I'd have to look. I don't know where my rankings are. They're mixed with my work stuff at the same time.
Oh, that's bad. You should fix that.
Yeah, I really need to fix that. I have 2 notebooks, but I haven't
approve of that.
all my push buttons. And anyways, I'm gonna say it's a slight overpay. I don't really particularly love Akers, but I mean it's not the worst I've ever seen. If Kamara gets suspended, then it changes some things. 206 is not the worst pick in the world. Half PPR. Aaron Rodgers is most likely a Jet at this point, so that's good for Brees. Obviously, if Aaron Rodgers somehow doesn't go to the Jets, it's a little bad for Brees. Do we know if Brees is going to be ready week 1? Have we heard anything? He will be?
Yeah,
okay. I'm going to say it's a slight overpay for now. I particularly would just hang on to the assets, but it could easily change. I wouldn't hate if you got Brees for that because of the pending Kamara stuff and the fact that Akers is really just kind of wishy-washy, and so are the Rams, to be honest, and they could be really bad again, especially if the rumors of Stafford are true. But this particular moment, I would say it's a slight overpay.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm okay with it.
In a 10 team, it seems kind of even to me because Diggs is great, but a declining asset. Like he's not gaining value. Kamara, definitely a declining value, whether he's suspended or not. He's 27 and on the decline. I just don't think we're going to see the height of Kamara ever again, which was awesome for the 4 or 5 years that we had it. Akers, who the hell knows what he's going to be? And then 2-6 is a mid-range prospect that you can invest in. But Brees Hall is 22 and a half years old. He's an RB1. He was RB5 in PP in points per game before he tore his ACL, which was a clean ACL with no meniscus damage or anything like that. He's on a team that's on the rise. He's in a system that is very, very running back friendly. I just can't imagine that you would look at the giving away these pieces and getting Brees Hall and regret it. I would never regret sending those 3 players and a pick for a guy like Brees Hall, who is in a lot of people's as RB1 in Dynasty. He's at least top 5 in everybody's rankings. So that's you always want to get the best player in a deal, and I think that's still the case here, even if you're overpaying. Like if you do it in a trade calculator, it's going to say it's an overpay. But in reality, the context is I get the best player of the deal.
Yeah, I agree with that. It feels a little unnecessary, but there are worse things. I will say, if I'm trading a bunch of assets, I'm probably not spending it on this kind of expensive running back. It's not really my style. So
it's definitely my style. I do this all.
Yeah, definitely not for me.
I do this for fun.
Yeah, I don't play that way usually. Is the team ready for? Okay. Is the team ready for Bijan? This is too many assets. Let's just focus on the general question. So is it ready for Bijan? I hear a lot of discussion. Oh, people who have the 101. Oh, they tanked for it. They're not ready for Bijan. Oh, they're not ready. I don't want to hear about that. You take the best player. When Bijan steps on the field and everyone sees how good he is, you don't think he's going to be worth more? You don't think he's going to be worth more? When we know how good he is, when people see, when we get to August and he's ranked as a top 5 redraft running back, you think he's going to have lost value from April or May to August? Do you think when we do redraft rankings and I rank him RB4 or RB5 or whatever as a rookie, which is what I'm going to do, I can just tell you, he's going to have lost value? This is going to be a bad thing? I don't think so. So is the team ready for Bijan? Who cares? What you do is you put the 101 on the block and you see if you get a good offer. If you can get, how about Garrett Wilson in a 24 first? If you can get that, fine. That sounds good. Garrett Wilson, very young, proven stud wide receiver, and then a 24 first on top of that. That is an overpay if you can get that. In a super flex, if you can get Trevor Lawrence, yes, do that. Take Trevor Lawrence, something like that. But if you can't get an overpay, then you just draft Bijan and wait. Nothing's going to happen to him in June. Like, you have time.
You'd have to be insane to trade the 101 right now.
Well, and
not insane. I mean, if you get an overpay, then go for it. But you got to get an overpay.
But the overpay would have to be so egregious because as soon as he has a landing spot, his price goes up to 2 firsts plus.
Yeah, no, I think the offer I suggested is egregious.
Yeah,
like
Jonathan Taylor isn't even as high of a prospect as Bijan is now.
Not even close, actually. Not
and
even close.
Jonathan
They're not even
Taylor
comparable
was worth
prospects at all.
3 firsts for an 18-month stretch. An 18-month stretch where Jonathan Taylor is worth 3 first-round picks. And so we're talking about Bijan, as soon as he's on the NFL field, is going to be worth those 3 first-round picks for a while.
Bijan is the best running back prospect. Him and Saquon Barkley are the 2 best running back prospects of the last 30 years.
Yes.
So it's been a long time since there's been a running back prospect of this quality.
And look at the running backs on that team: Haskins, Williams, and Hasty. Like, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You gotta just take the best player
None
and
of that
stick somewhere
matters.
with your room.
None of that matters. You only want to trade the 101 if it's an overpay. I will say though, I have seen some overpays. I've seen some things. I've seen, CeeDee Lamb and a significant piece for the 101. I'd rather have CeeDee Lamb in the significant piece. I've seen trades with quarterbacks. There are overpays.
Damn.
I saw that there were other things. I mean, Breece Hall and a 24 first. I mean, I like Bijan Robinson. Not sure he's a 24 first better than Breece Hall. That's a lot to add. I'm fine with that. But these are the types of Garrett Wilson at 24 first. These are the kind of things we got to be getting a super premium asset and another piece. And then I will do it, because you always want to capitalize on an asset when it's at its peak value. But if you can't get that kind of offer, just take Bijan and then wait for August. And when people see that he's a high end running back 1 as a rookie, people will be lining up to trade for him. You won't have a problem.
Yeah, that's investing in just time. Just let time take course, and Bijan's gonna be worth way more than he is right now.
But I have heard a lot of crap about teams tank for the 101. Oh, they're not ready. Oh no. It's like
this
sometimes
is the
people
exact guy you do that for.
It's always what I say is I happen to be a rather smart person, actually. I stunningly am actually in Mensa, I actually am, I got a 2320 on my SATs. I actually am a very smart person, but I try to turn that part of my brain off a lot of the time when I'm playing Dynasty. No, I'm serious. It's because you overthink it. You outthink yourself. Sometimes it's just actually very simple. Dynasty is actually not that hard. It's not that hard. Most of the mistakes that you make are from overthinking it. That's a lot of what my Patreon is. It's to hold your hand and tell you, no, just calm down. Everything is fine. The simplest course of action is usually the best one. And I know that's not necessarily fun, but if you want to win, sometimes it's not that hard, and people overcomplicate it. And I always just, your first instinct is usually the right one. So stick with that one instead of overcomplicating things. Hey guys. Toronto Dave. I would love to meet Toronto Dave in person one day. I think that would be something.
Canton last year, it was awesome.
Oh yeah. Should
I
go?
Yes.
Oh, good, because I'm not going to. But I do appreciate zero chance. Zero
They're
chance.
They're in spirit.
Zero chance. No, if I didn't go when I was still on my way up in the industry, I'm not going to go now. I'm not an extrovert. Well, I'm an extrovert, but I'm not a very outgoing person. I'm a very shy person. That situation would make me that social kind of situation would make me so uncomfortable. You have no idea.
It was a bit overwhelming at times, for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm the extreme extrovert where I didn't think I could be made uncomfortable by that kind of situation, but it still was a lot. It was a lot.
I'm a shy extrovert though. I really like people, but I don't really love strangers. So a situation with a lot of strangers would probably be
a lot of strangers.
Kind of a nightmare for me. I don't think I'd be very comfortable with that. But if anyone wants to come visit me in New York, I don't know. We get high together. Be fun. This is how you can tell I'm sick. Well, I took a lot of cold medicine to be able to do this show, so that's why I kind of sound a little more airy than usual. It's they had to make sure I was old enough when I was buying it at the CVS, because apparently I still look like I could be under 18. But these are, who cares about that? What's up? Oh wow. Oh, and tell us a little bit more about that, because I don't really, to be honest, I don't need a lot of hot sauce or anything like that. So, tell the people a little bit more about your business.
That's what a lot of people think is that I'm selling a bunch of different hot sauces. No, the one hot sauce I sell, Hotbox Gourmet Hot Sauce, was just the flagship product for my website, Big Time Flavor.
It's doing very well, though, it seems like.
Yeah, it's doing well. I have 4 unique seasoning blends that I've pushed out after the hot sauce, so you can bundle it all together and save in a bundle price by ordering all of them. But bigtimeflavor.co, it's just about making home cooking easier, because a lot of the seasoning blends that you buy at the grocery store are just full of junk products, like just
Oh, I know.
fillers and
I'm a
preservatives,
health nut,
extras,
so
just nasty. You don't even want to know half the stuff that's in those things.
I can tell you what's in them.
It's not good.
It's not good. Yeah, it's not good.
And so my response is that everything I make is clean. It's gluten free. It's vegan. It's everything that
It's made of
everything that
real
goes in.
ingredients.
Yes, everything that goes into the bottle is for the purpose of enhancing the flavor of A, what's in the blend, and B, what you're going to cook it with. That's really what the goal is to make everything you cook at home taste better without having to wonder what kind of junk you're putting in your body at the same time.
I'd love to just rub some of it under my nose right now. Might clear my
Yeah,
sinuses up.
it would.
And
It
there's your
would.
link if people are interested.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Don't say I don't promote anyone else. Well, that's actually
Hey.
all I spend time doing on Twitter is promoting other people.
Promote. Yeah.
Promote. You know, you got to do that. Why are you sorry? You're sending me a super chat and it starts with "I'm sorry."
Sorry for the money, Tyler.
Sorry for the money. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. No need to
Dang
be
it.
sorry.
Sorry, it's not more money, Tyler.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. But anyway, I said Waddle and Hollywood from 101, 24-second, and 305. Honestly,
It's close.
I don't love it. Sorry. I don't love it. Like Waddle and 101 are about equal to me. I'd lean Bijan, but you know, a young, proven wide receiver with 2 excellent seasons. I would prefer Bijan, but not by much. I love Hollywood over those picks. Hollywood's a buy to me, not a sell.
Especially if Hopkins is out.
Well, it's not nothing to do with that. It's that I think everyone's actually already, to me, I find that people are already valuing, kind of like how people were valuing the Brandon Cooks trade. I think people were evaluating the Houston receivers as if Cooks was already gone because it was a foregone conclusion that he would be gone. I think that's the same thing here. I think Hollywood is already being valued as if Hopkins is gone already.
Yeah.
But that's not why I think he's a buy. Why I think he's a buy is that the situation just looks so bleak. There's no Kyler for this year or a lot of it. And Hollywood is still relatively young and still pretty good. And I wouldn't want to give up on him just because he's in a bad situation for 8 games. He showed a lot of talent, and he showed a lot of talent throughout his career. I mean, he's been good. So, unfortunately, I think on the value, I would lean on the Waddle side. Sorry.
Yeah, I love Jalen Waddle.
That way.
I am in love with Jalen Waddle. I love everything about him.
I think the difference between the 101 and Waddle is less than the difference between Hollywood and these other things.
Yeah.
24 seconds just not that appealing. Sorry. I'm going to go against your side. Very rare, actually, with FF Lefty, one of my longtime patrons. It's very rare I actually disagree. But,
I'm a lefty myself, and I like this trade because you get Bijan. But
well,
it is
that can't
close.
be so
it is
bad,
close.
right?
It is close. If he's sending guys away like Waddle and Hollywood, I'm guessing his receiving core is very strong already. And so adding Bijan to an already strong receiving core, if you're sending away Waddle, you must feel pretty good about the other guys behind him.
Yeah. Bracket busted. I could tell you, I have not watched any of the college basketball tournament. I think that there are teams playing, right? I think so.
Yeah. And all the best teams are losing.
Yeah. There was some team won. That was interesting. Purdue lost. I know that.
Yeah, they lost to Fairleigh Dickinson out of Jersey.
Yeah, I've been very busy.
Princeton beat somebody. I haven't made a bracket in a decade.
Princeton.
So.
Are we going to talk about Andre Yoshivas or however you pronounce his name? Did I get that right?
That's pretty close.
Pretty close. It's okay. I don't really like him, but
he's really fast. That's about it.
He's really fast and not much else. Is JMO just a hold right now, or would you sell for 201 and a running back Madison Tier? Well, I like getting him for Dulcich in a third. That was good. So let's look at this. 201 and a Madison. Jameson Williams, I feel like, is kind of So it's super flex, I would think. In super flex, if I look at the class, I'd rather have Bijan. I'd rather have the top 3 quarterbacks. I'd rather have JSN. He's a better prospect anyway. And I'd rather have Gibbs, who is a solid running back prospect. And we know the history of players who miss do nothing as a rookie. For whatever the reason is, it doesn't seem to matter why. It doesn't matter if it was injury, got on the field but didn't play or didn't manage to actually play at all. Whatever the reason, the history of those players is outside of quarterback sit, but running back, wide receiver, not tight end. That's different. Those take longer, but running back and wide receiver who just kind of do this kind of pattern, their history of doing well later is very bad. It's very bad. This is your Kevin White, your Corey Davis career trajectory, your John Ross. These are the players in that bucket. Or Darius Geis. These are some of the players in that group. So we don't want to be in that group. That group is not good. We don't want to be there. So would I sell for 201 in Madison? I don't know. I mean, I'd rather even start over with Jordan Addison or Quentin Johnston, I think, because they don't have the strike against them. I think I'd rather have Will Levis in Superflex. That's already 9 players. So I just did an article on Zach Charbonnet, and I got to tell you, I was very impressed. I was very impressed with Zach Charbonnet. Very impressed. I think I would rather have him at this point, choosing straight up over Jameson Williams. So that's already 10 players. So it's already getting close. I don't know if I'd rather have him over wide receivers like Zay Flowers or Josh Downs. They just don't have the upside of Jameson Williams. They don't have the pedigree to the same degree. So, yeah, it's fair. It's fair. It's a fair offer. Yeah, I'd say it's fair.
If that's the price for Jameson, I'm buying him. Let's just say that.
I wish the running back were a little. I think Madison is just a guy. I don't think Madison is good. I think he's just a guy.
What's the Madison tier? Useless unless the starter gets hurt. That tier.
I mean, in terms of a talent tier, I think he's just a guy. I think he's just okay.
There's nothing special about Madison.
If that said, even if it said like Khalil Herbert and 201, that would change my mind. I would go with
that.
The 201 side. Not that I love Khalil Herbert. I'm actually a known Khalil Herbert hater, but
he has more upside than Madison.
Yeah, sure. A lot more. Khalil Herbert, I think we don't know if he's just a guy. I've seen enough from Madison to say that he's nothing special. He's just a backup. Khalil Herbert has looked much more superior in flashes. So I think it's just a little light. Could I even get another player, totally different player that I liked a little more? Even 201 and AJ Dillon, I'd like better. Not that AJ Dillon is anything special, but I like AJ Dillon's upside a lot more than Madison's. Long term. I think he's just a better player.
Does anything change if Cook leaves?
Well, that would help, but I still don't think much of Madison.
In terms of talent, yeah.
I don't think much of him. I think he's just a dude. And the contract he signed is backup, not starter. That's not a starter contract.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they work it out with Cook.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I think that the Bengals do Mixon dirty, and they see if they're gonna get a running back in the draft, and if they do, then they get rid of him. But I don't think the Vikings are in the same spot. I think the Vikings are more committed to Cook than the Bengals are to Mixon. I think they're gonna stick with Cook.
I think
for one more year.
Have to. I don't think they have much of a choice. I mean, they do have a choice, but I don't know how long you're going to ride Cousins and Jefferson. You can, because Jefferson is absolutely insane. But I feel like they have to. You can't go into this season with Alexander Madison as your RB1. You just simply can't.
I don't think so. And I also think the difference is that, like, in my opinion, Dalvin Cook was still effective last year, whereas I think Joe Mixon was not effective.
No,
Joe Mixon was not effective. He was not effective at all. He wasn't very good running the ball, whereas I think Dalvin Cook was superior. I think he was a lot better. I mean, Joe Mixon has been inefficient throughout his career. He's had one season of a yards per carry more than 4.1. I know you say yards per carry is not that important. It's not predictive, but over 5 years of it, maybe it means something. 5 years of failure might mean something.
And if it's bad, like you can say an outlier yards per carry means something. Something in the middle of the fours, or it's something is like, okay, let's look at something else as a metric if it's just average. But when you have year over year of poor yards per carry comparatively to other players in similar systems, that's bad. It's still bad if it's a bad metric.
Also,
then,
yeah, Dalvin Cook had a down year at 4.4 yards a carry, and that's still 0.3 better than 5 of Mixon's 6 seasons.
Yikes.
So again, I think Dalvin Cook is not elite anymore. I think 2021 was Dalvin Cook's last elite year. He was not elite in 2022. But I still think he's good. I don't think he's washed like Ezekiel Elliott or never was that good and is in serious decline like Joe Mixon. I think Dalvin Cook is still a plus running back. And not just a plus running back, a plus starter. And I think they're going to work it out because I don't know. They don't save that much by letting him go. I don't see why they don't work it out. They'd be better off with him than without him. So I think they work it out. So that means I'm not interested in Madison. How often do you update your Dynasty rankings? Well, how often do I update them and how often do I port the updates to the Patreon are not the same thing. I update them whenever news happens. So whenever the news happens, I go in and update them. How often do I port that over to the Patreon? That takes a little longer. It actually takes me longer to port it over to the Google Sheet from my own personal Excel than it does to update the rankings themselves. But I update them based on every piece of news. I have to update them throughout everything that happens during a season. So constantly is the answer. It's just a question of how often I decide to copy over the sheet to the Google. So it probably seems like I only update every 5 to 7 days, but that's not the case. That's just when I'm porting my update over to you. I probably update them every day. Or every day that there's news, that is.
Yeah, I do mine on paper and I have like arrows pointing all over the place. So I need to.
How about investing in Excel?
I'm very unorganized right now.
I would invest in Excel. I think Excel would be a good thing for you. Doing it on paper is no good. Let's invest in Excel. Let's use VLOOKUP. Let's start with that. How about some VLOOKUP? You can use that to port in some of the DLF data. That's what I do anyway. I do some VLOOKUP and Excel and some charting things. I would recommend it. Do you do Dynasty rankings?
Yeah.
Where do you publish them, or just on?
I haven't published any yet. I'm gonna probably do one set of rankings right before the draft, and then after the draft, I'll be doing them weekly for.
Why not publish them?
No, I do publish them. Yeah, they're on Fantasy Pros ERC.
When did you update them?
I haven't yet.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds good. I mean, I would, to be honest, the reason I don't have my rankings on Fantasy Pros is because I make more money doing it this way. I would assume. I would assume I make more money from selling them on Patreon than I would from whatever Fantasy Pros is going to give me.
Yeah, they're not going to pay. It's just a consensus. So you're
not even paying me for them. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, they're putting them into
my rankings are not on there.
Yeah, I mean, other than a lot of eyeballs see the rankings, but it's just part of a consensus at the end of the day. So you could do both, really.
Not that I don't need the eyeballs, but I have Twitter for the eyeballs. I don't need separate eyeballs. But yeah, you can get my rankings for $5 a month. I think it's worth it. Oh, I do sell just, if you don't want the Patreon, Discord, any of that, if you just want the rankings, I do sell them. If you pay $15, you can get my Dynasty rankings from now until week 1. So you get them for almost 6 months for $15, which I actually think is a pretty good deal. But if you don't want any of the other Patreon stuff, you can get just the rankings for $15 for the rest of the offseason. So that offer is available. Let's see. Depth is poor. Need ideas for 105 and 110. Well, if depth is poor, why don't you just keep it? London for 105 and 110 is an overpay to get London. Kirk, 110 for Kirk is an overpay. So I don't think we're going to do that. Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, if you have 105 and 110, you can just fix your depth with those picks. You rattled off like 10 players.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. Yeah, I don't see the need to do that. So why don't we just wait? Oh, we talked about updating rankings. Jalen Tolbert with Brandon Cooks traded for. I actually dropped Jalen Tolbert out of my Dynasty rankings entirely. He is no longer ranked for me. So the answer to the question is no. If I don't rank him, I'm not going to tell you to hold on to him.
There's no reason to hold on to him because he hasn't shown us any reason to hold on to him.
That's right. And now he's not even going to get a chance to do that. Which sucks, he's not going to get any. I mean, does it? I don't really care. It's the NFL.
I liked him coming into the league, but his opportunity is zero. So it's
zero. He's not even going to get
is.
on the field.
It is what it is.
But yeah, the answer to this question is no. I do find it a little odd. I mean, I guess in 3 wide receiver sets, CeeDee Lamb is going to play in the slot. And then, I would assume it's interesting. Who's going to come off in 2 wide receiver sets, Cooks or Gallup?
Gallup.
They're both being paid a lot.
Unless it's the red zone. I see Gallup staying on in the red zone because he's a really good weapon in short area. But but yeah, between the 20s, you probably guess.
I will say, we didn't talk about Cooks very much in the show. I'm not in on him. I'm not really in on Gallup either. I think this is the kind of thing where I wish there was one of them playing well. But I think the problem is just what you said, that Gallup is going to come in the red zone. And Cooks is going to play a lot more of the other time. And I think we're not going to be really able to count on either one. I'm not going to rank either inside my top 30 because I just don't know. Gallup looked healthier down the stretch and started to look a lot better. So I am concerned. I mean, he's younger than Cooks. I'm just not relying on it. These are going to be avoids for me, both.
And they're still really thin at the position. Like if you have 3 capable starters, that's not enough in the NFL, especially with the passing league, especially with the new offensive coordinator, Mike McCarthy calling plays. He's not going to run a bunch of 12 personnel to take one of those guys off the field. But he better pray that none of those guys get hurt because behind them is a whole lot of nothingness at wide receiver.
They might draft one.
They should.
After this year, they can get out from under these contracts.
You had to remind me Mike McCarthy is going to be calling plays this season. Yeah.
I will say, with Brandon Cooks, I just feel like now's a good time to sell. I didn't move him up in my rankings. I think this is a fine landing spot, but I would have liked somewhere where he was the unquestioned 2 at least. If he had gone to, or the Chiefs, what if he had gone to the Chiefs? He would be the 1 there. Or, if he had gone somewhere where he was at least the unquestioned second option, if not the first. And this is not that. And Dak is great, but he's not Patrick Mahomes in terms of lighting up an offense and raising the ceiling of everyone around him. He's not Patrick Mahomes. So, I'm not sure. I would have liked it, for example. I think I would have liked his spot if he'd gone to say the Vikings to replace Adam Thielen. We know that works a little bit more, but this is concerning because Michael Gallup did get more volume down the stretch, looked better down the stretch, and I just think this is their idea of loading up. Because if you look at the way the contracts are structured, they can get out from under Cooks after this year, and next year is when CeeDee Lamb's 5th-year option kicks in and his salary gets a big rise. So they can have all 3 of them together this year. And then they can just get out from Cooks next year as they're starting to pay Lamb. So it's actually good planning on their part, a good 1-year rental plan. And then they'll have to move on from Cooks or Gallup next year. They're not going to be able to continue to afford both and budget CeeDee Lamb's $18 million or so that is going to be owed on the 5th-year option. But it's great planning to go all in this year. It's actually a great move by the Cowboys, getting the big money on a veteran while the CeeDee Lamb is still on his rookie deal. So great move from them. But it's not going to last, and I'm out on both Cooks and Gallup in Dynasty and redraft, really. They're going to be too expensive for me. I might take a flyer on Gallup if he's really low. If he's outside the top 60, I'd be interested. It's totally written off, but...
He might be. If
he's written off, I'll have 0 Cooks. I know that for sure. I think Cooks was in decline last year. He didn't look so good. I'm just out on him.
I mean, I'm out on both Cooks and Gallup, but I'm hoping as a fan that it doesn't take very long for Cooks to be the number 2. Because I didn't love the re-signing of Gallup. I
didn't either.
He's not the wide receiver 2 that we really needed. I'm not going to bring in the whole Amari Cooper thing. Amari Cooper's gone. It is what it is. Gallup had to be the 2, and he's not going to be the 2. So I'm hoping that it doesn't take very long for a healthy Brandon Cooks, obviously, to be an unquestioned 2 to CeeDee Lamb. I'm hoping that we see that. I just don't know if it's actually going to happen.
Yeah, he's someone in Dynasty I could just kind of pass on. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I have a ton of 102. What are you doing with it? Oh, hey, Derek. Ton of 1 or 2. What are you doing with the pick? Trading back, taking a QB? If so, which one? So for me, I mentioned already that I have Bryce Young at 1 or at 1 among quarterbacks. But I think it's close. I don't know. If CJ Stroud goes at 1, maybe I would move him ahead. I don't know. They're Stroud and Young are very close to me. What do you guys think?
I like Young better as a player, but I think Stroud might be a better fantasy option. Stroud reminds me so much of Justin Herbert coming out, where it's like, oh, you underappreciate his athleticism within the pocket and moving around. He's got good size. He's not as big as Herbert. He's not as athletic as Herbert, but that throwing, that arm talent that Stroud has that he's getting underrated on right now is fun for me, because you can say that'll last him over a decade in the league. It's just with accuracy, timing, smarts, being able to recognize the play pre-snap, reading defenses, just like Bryce Young does. But where it comes into play with Bryce Young's size isn't going to be his first few years. It's going to be down the road as he gets more mature in the league, where Stroud's size is going to keep him in the league longer, in my opinion. So I think that you'd be safer going with Stroud, but Bryce Young is so good that I could go either way too. I tend to think that Stroud lasts longer in the league as an elite passer.
I'm fine trading back also.
Yeah.
I said 107 Evan Ingram, 24 third and 24 fourth received. Mark Anderson, 24 second. I'm going to lean toward, not tight end premium, I guess.
Where are we at on Andrews though? He did not have a great year. Who knows who his quarterback is?
It's going to be Lamar at best.
Yeah. I mean, Lamar loves him, but if Lamar isn't his quarterback, then obviously tight end is just a crapshoot outside of Kelsey and
I think
Pitts.
I'd lean toward Ingram with the third and fourth over the second. It's close.
And 107 and Ingram.
107 versus Andrews is pretty close in a non-tight end premium, because that's probably going to be either Addison, Johnston, or Levis, potentially Charbonnet if he gets really good draft capital, but I doubt it. I'd lean toward 107. I'm kind of tired of Mark Andrews, to be honest.
Andrews is a sell for me based on the uncertainty. A lot of people are hoping that Lamar's back in town, but because of that, you can say, hey, Lamar's going to be back in town. I have inside information Lamar's back in town, and he's just going to play on the tag. And even though if you don't believe it's true, you can get somebody to believe that and get 107 and Evan Ingram, who is on the rise with a definite quarterback advantage in the long term with Trevor Lawrence. That's huge. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah. I get it. I'm just kind of over Mark Andrews to a degree.
Yeah.
I accepted Chase and a second for 101. I'd rather have Chase over 101. So you did great. I love New York, so I'll probably go there again. Well, I live every day in New York, so I'm not gonna lie that I like it here. So, fellas, I have a roster stacked pretty well and own the 105, 106, and 107. These kind of questions are pretty vague. I would say that, I don't know. I mean, you just want to pick good players.
It's tough.
Put the picks on the block when you're on the clock, though.
I mean, you can get good talent at those picks anyways. And if you're already a stacked team with, you're competing, the picks are just going to let you compete for even longer because you're going to get talent at 105, 106, and 107.
That is very true. 110 and Jerry Jeudy for DJ Moore, worth it? No. This is extreme overpay. I'm not sure the 110 is. I'm not sure that he's. I mean, assuming it's super flex, I'm not sure he's even worth more than the 110. Maybe a little bit more.
It's about the same.
Not that in
It's
on
like getting
DJ
Jerry
Moore.
Jeudy for free.
Yeah, it's an overpay. So the answer to this question is no.
We'll both take Jerry Jeudy for free, won't we, Tyler?
Pretty much, yeah. No matter the format, I'm not doing this. I know which way you lean. Oh, take that one out of context. That's a good one. Hey, Tyler and friends. Curious on your thoughts about Christian Watson post Rodgers. Just bought him for the 202 and 205 and a 1 QB. Well, at that price, I'm in on him. At that price, I'm in. My thoughts on Christian Watson. I still like him.
No.
I mean, who's he competing with for targets?
I don't care
Himself.
about that.
Literally. He's got to get some volume out of Jordan Love.
That's what I'm worried about,
some
though.
chemistry.
I'm really worried about his ability to run more than 3 routes. Because, yeah, I just don't like the guy's game compared to his athleticism, which is off the charts. Once people figure out you only run 3 routes and you're not going to learn more routes anytime soon, it's going to be over for him very quickly. This is a very, very finite prospect, supernova type. So with Jordan Love in the long term, I really do not like Christian Watson. Even saying that 202 and 205 is a pretty fair price for the upside he carries.
It's significant underpay in a 1 QB. He's worth more. He's worth significantly more. I will say, once he got going, as in getting a snap share that we care about, over the last 8 games, he averaged 65 yards a game. The touchdowns were the outlier, 7 touchdowns on 31 receptions. It's not going to repeat itself. But yards are a pretty sticky stat, and 65 yards a game would pace for 1,100 yards over a full season. Players who succeed to that level, which honestly overall and in that stretch was a pretty good level in his rookie year, tend to end up being good. So the odds are, given his trajectory, the odds are in his favor. Not everyone hits, but with his draft capital, which is second round, is solid for a wide receiver, and that level of success as a rookie, especially coming near the end. You always want the success near the end, not near the beginning.
This is I've seen this movie before, and it's called Chase Claypool.
It's not quite the same movie.
It's identical.
Is it? I don't know about that.
Same size, same athleticism, same huge rookie year with the same limitations. I see them as they're clones. They are clones.
I mean, Chase Claypool is honestly like a massive outlier in terms of someone who was that successful and ended up being that bad. It's actually very rare. Usually, it's unusual. Usually, those players end up succeeding. So
Chase Claypool is a more consistent player than Christian Watson, at least in college, was. So
that's definitely true. But
yeah, I just don't trust Watson. I know he's as good as it gets in a short window, but I don't trust him whatsoever with Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love is a trash prospect. I think he shouldn't have been even drafted in the first 3 rounds that year, let alone in the first as a trade up. I just don't think that he has any standing after 23. I think they're going to be moving on from him immediately after this last 5th-year option is run out. Green Bay is going to be soul searching after the season because Jordan Love is not it.
I don't think he's that bad.
I think he's terrible.
Really? I don't think he's terrible.
Even his great games at Utah State were against grocery clerks, and it just screamed like if Zach Wilson was given the opportunity to sit behind a guy for 3 years like that or 4 years like that, then we'd have the same level of hope, only to watch it just burst into flames because Mountain West competition is atrocious.
Yeah, but he's had time to adjust. I think the problem with Zach Wilson is that Zach Wilson has a major attitude problem, and that is not fixable. But
that's true.
Jordan Love, I don't feel is an issue.
No, Jordan Love has a great attitude, and he's
and
very
I do
likable.
feel it was nice that I think we saw something. It's nice that we saw something, even if it wasn't very much. We saw something this year where he came in and he was competent for that little period of time that we got to see him play. So I did like that we got to see that. I think that helps. And I think that's part of why the Packers are moving on from Aaron Rodgers. 1 QB, 106 or DJ Moore? Well, in a 1 QB, essentially, that's about right. I'm not sure there's going to be a player at 106 that I like more than DJ Moore. I mean, at 106 and a 1
close.
QB, that's going to be
Jordan Addison.
Well, maybe. I mean, Addison, I have at 4, Johnston at 5, Charbonnet at 6. I do worry that there's only going to be 4 or 5 prospects in the class that I really love, not 6. Not sure that I'm going to like the 6th player over DJ Moore. Feels
That's
a little
close.
light.
I think the only consideration might be how much volume is DJ Moore going to get in Chicago's offense, because he's an amazing player. But I still see him as a very run-forward offense where the top receiver might not be your 140 target guy. So he's going to have to make it up on his efficiency, which we know is great.
It's not going to happen in that offense in terms of touchdowns. No. There's not going to be enough passing touchdowns for him to be that efficient.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at
possible.
Addison or Charbonnet or somebody like that, I think I might lean that way, especially if I'm a team that's looking to get younger. I mean, we're not saying DJ Moore's old, but
I wish there was going to be like a third running back that we were more sure about, or that Addison and Quentin Johnston had actually had good combines. But none of that happened. So I'm a little concerned that the 106 is not going to be as what we want in a 1 QB. Because the people who really impressed at the combine were quarterbacks and tight ends, but not, and the top players. I mean, Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, and JSN had great combines, but they became more better.
Yeah, that basically the way I described it was the best guys just darkened it in ink of what they were. And then the other guys just left everything in pencil for us to fill in with imagination.
Well, I think it's just that the really upper was really good. The mid to upper was really bad. But then as you go one step down, it was actually pretty impressive. A lot of those middling prospects, a lot of the running backs did well. Middle to lower end running backs actually did well. I think there's going to be more running backs on day 2 than there are usually. I think there's going to be a lot of round 3 running backs this year. There's a lot of running backs that are good, not great.
Yep.
So that they help the middling part of the class, but that's not the part of the class we're talking about here. I think this is going to be a great second round. I think it's going to be one of the best second rounds we've had in years. But I'm not sure the mid first in a 1 QB and the late first in a super flex are not going to be my favorite values this year.
There's so much uncertainty there, and you do have a known commodity in DJ Moore, who's he is a wide receiver 1, and that's something you can't just pull off the streets
in the NFL, not fantasy. The NFL,
yes, and borderline wide receiver 1 upside in fantasy, but we're looking at
not in this offense,
no, and that's
unfortunately
really
he's never been in the offense to do it. I do think if you just transplanted DJ, if you just did a little switch and removed Stephon Diggs from the Buffalo Bills and put DJ Moore there,
so nice.
He would be a wide receiver 1 for fantasy easily. So I think I think DJ Moore has it in him, but he didn't do it in Carolina because he didn't have the quarterback volume. He's not going to do it here for the same reason. But if you put him there are situations where he could do it.
That's what makes this deal close.
Yeah. Problem is that DJ Moore's getting old. It's just assume
25.
Well, he's 26, but you're getting to the point where we're starting to get a little too old to see, well, it's going to happen eventually. It's going to happen eventually. We're starting to get to the point where we can't assume it's going to. Because like Allen Robinson really went his whole career and it never happened for him. In terms of actually getting in the situation with a good quarterback, he never really did until it was too late. So DJ Moore, unfortunately, could have the same problem where he doesn't get with a good quarterback until it's too late. Drake London, Devonta Smith, and 24 first, or Justin Jefferson and Jimmy. Wow. Jimmy G. Tough when Justin Jefferson.
That's a package.
But this is a lot. What do we think?
Man. Whew. I hate moving on. Jefferson and Chase I have on one team together, and I basically told everybody in the league that those are the only 2 guys that were untouchable. But that's the kind of package that it's going to take to even raise my interest at all. I don't think it's there yet, especially in a super flex. Jimmy G doesn't move the needle in super flex either for me. So this is basically a Jefferson versus how much can you get for him deal. And I think it's bordering on close, but it's not there yet. I love Smith and London though. That's amazing. That's tempting.
I really like Drake London too, but it's Justin freaking Jefferson. The problem is we talked about Justin Jefferson last week, and because Devin ranked Jamar Chase number 1 over Justin Jefferson, and I had
Not
Jefferson
gonna
at
agree.
1. I also did not agree with him, but his reasoning when we talk about Justin Jefferson a lot is that like Justin Jefferson has Kirk Cousins, right? But how much longer is he going to have Kirk Cousins? How much longer is he going to have a decent Kirk Cousins? And what is life after Kirk Cousins? And like I won't get like heavily into what we got into, but that's kind of like every time I see Justin Jefferson, that's what I think about now. Like he is my wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. Don't get me wrong, but that's a really good package. And at what point is the Vikings looking at life after Kirk Cousins, and what does that look like for Justin Jefferson? But also, how far away is life after Kirk Cousins is kind of so you play all these different questions, and this is super tempting. I love Drake London. I really think he can be really good. I don't know how to feel about Desmond Ridder, but Desmond Ridder is an upgrade over Marcus Mariota in the passing game for Kyle Pitts and Drake London, 100%. To set a bar very, very low, Desmond Ridder is better passing. Devontae Smith, I feel really iffy on just because his opposition is AJ Brown, and Jalen Hurts is a good passer. I'm not going to be like he has a noodle arm or anything like that. I'm not that kind of guy. Jalen Hurts is a talented quarterback. I just don't know how Devontae had a good season. It just, oh, man. I think I'm still going to lean Jefferson very, very slightly. Jimmy G doesn't really do anything for me. Like he'll have okay stats on the Raiders, but he's going to have Jimmy G stats, and he's not going to win as much, sure. But I'll still slightly lean Jefferson just because he is that dude.
Yeah, I'd go that way too. Jimmy G's not worthless.
I don't think he's worthless. He'll put up, teen points a week, maybe. I mean, he's got a good offense. His defense is going to be terrible, so he's going to have to throw the ball a lot, which is beneficial for fantasy. But we'll see how long he survives behind that line.
Yeah. Is it time to move on from DK Metcalf? No. I don't know why it would be. Why would it be time to move on from DK Metcalf?
He's a buy low for me. Same with
Yeah,
Lockett. Lockett's 30 years old, and it's still Geno getting a couple years of extra breath on that team and vote of confidence. They're going to keep building around him. Kenneth Walker only helps these wide receivers because they have a reliable running back option on the team. Geno's been getting better the last 3 years, despite the out of nowhere nature to last year. So we saw the writing on the wall with Geno Smith even the year before that with DK Metcalf. The chemistry's there. The offense is really well run. This is a buy offense. This whole offense is too undervalued across the board. DK is awesome.
Yeah, with Tyler Lockett, I do feel like it's the kind of thing with someone like that the usually the decline comes quick. It comes without warning. Yeah. And once it's done, it's done. And he's probably just an avoid for me. I'm not particularly interested in Tyler Lockett.
I thought it was going to happen to him a couple of years ago, to be honest, and he still just keeps getting better. So, like you said, it's going to happen eventually, and it will be quick and swift, and you'll be like, well, that was fun, and that was it.
Yeah, he is 30 now. He turns 31 right as the season starts. That's usually 30 to 31 outside of Hall of Famers is usually when the decline is severe. Non-Hall of Famers are usually finished at 32. Typically, or finished. Done in the NFL. Career is over is usually at 32 outside of Hall of Fame talents. So we're at 30 now. We're almost at 31. It's time for me. His ADP is high for a player that I think is almost out the door. So I'm actually out on Tyler Lockett. But
it's close.
Well, if he were a lot lower, but if I'm going to take someone like that, I'd rather.
The time to get him was last year when he was severely undervalued.
Where he was actually going at a lower ADP than he is now.
Yeah, he was wide receiver 74 last year in ADP.
There was a period of time.
Awesome.
But if I'm going to invest in someone older, I'm going to invest in someone
cheap,
off the map, like Adam Thielen. Yeah, someone who's like not going to cost me. I'm like picking Adam Thielen or like Darius Slayton or Isaiah Hodgins. Like at that point, I'm okay taking Adam Thielen. But Tyler Lockett, still has an ADP of around 100. So I'm giving up players that actually have real upside to take Tyler Lockett, which I'm not going to do. Who's the 2023 rookie or higher, Stan, compared to consensus? I gotta look at that. My rankings are similar to consensus. So like consensus, forgetting the quarterbacks, but with consensus, I have Bijan at 1, the quarterbacks 2, 3, and 4, which is consensus. JSN at 5, consensus. Then Gibbs, then Addison, then Johnston. And then in terms of players, other than that, I have Charbonnet after that, which is also consensus. So I don't know. Who am I higher on? Let's see. I mean, I'm maybe a bit higher on A-Chain in that I have him above some wide receivers.
He's so fun. He's so fun to watch.
Let's see. I'm higher on a lot of tight ends. I'm still probably higher on Michael Mayer than consensus. I think consensus has dropped him a little too low. I'm definitely higher on all the other tight ends. Tucker Kraft, Sam Laporta, and Luke Musgrave. I'm probably higher on all of them compared to other positions. Players I'm lower on, Keishon Boutte. He's just dead. He's just dead to me.
Rest in peace, Keishon.
Yeah, he's dead to me. That's the big one.
That one sucked. It's like rooting for the guy, and then he shows up to the combine completely unprepared.
Yeah. I'm not interested in Roschon Johnson. Some people are very interested in him. I'm kind of, I could take or leave him. Doesn't really do anything for me. So I'm not really in on him. Yeah.
I'm higher on a couple quarterbacks compared, but most of my running back, tight end, wide receiver rankings are pretty similar. Like they weave in and out of mostly. I don't really put a lot of stock in combine, so like I'm trusting what I watched as far as film study of the last year. And so Jake Haener, quarterback out of Fresno State, very high on my board. Same with Hendon Hooker. Yeah, and then
Jake Haener is off my board entirely.
Oh man,
not a fan. I don't think I'm missing out on much.
I think you are.
People told me a summary of the combine quarterbacks. They said the top guys looked really good. Stetson Bennett was surprisingly impressive. Hendon Hooker obviously did nothing but interviewed well, and everyone else sucked. That's what I was told. And I did some digging on my own and could not have agreed more. So I pretty much took I have the top 4. Then I have Hendon Hooker at 5 because team seems to like him and he's going to get higher draft capital than I think he should get. Stetson Bennett, I have at 6 because he actually seemed to do well at the combine, and everyone else, from what I heard and then what I looked up as well, was essentially a joke. So I took them all off my board. Beyond Bennett at 6.
I have Haener ahead of Will Levis.
Oh, that's when Haener goes undrafted. That's gonna need to change. I literally don't think he's gonna be drafted. It wouldn't surprise me if this was a year where only 7 or 8 quarterbacks were drafted at all. I think the NFL sees this quarterback class outside of the top end as mostly a joke. I don't think
so. You're saying that there's going to be 4 probably in the top 10, which one of them I think doesn't deserve to be in the first 2 rounds in Levis, and then you're going to say there's going to be 3 more the rest of the draft.
Yeah, I think there's going to be 7 or 8 drafted this year. I think this is going to be. I think the NFL does not like the rest of these players at all. They don't seem to think much of it.
Yeah, after last year, you kind of have to believe that too, because last year's class was so bad that they just were like, "Well, we're going to let the Steelers go off on their own little weird party with their quarterback in the first round. The rest of them are going to be like, well."
I mean, last year, I don't know how many quarterbacks are usually drafted. I mean, last year there
usually
were
it's 10 to 12 on average.
Last year there were 9 quarterbacks drafted.
Yeah, and that was below average.
Yeah, and this year I think it's actually going to be even less. Well, also because I think there's available ones in the beginning, so I think people are just not going to be as. I actually think there's more. I just think like teams are happy with these, whatever, veterans than they are. I think they're more interested in. A lot of teams have signed those guys and filled up spots that will be taken by these other guys. I just think they're not that interested. I think that the flurry of signing these washed up, boring veterans shows me that the NFL is not expecting to find quarterbacks in the 3rd and 4th round this year. They're not going to be doing that. They're not interested in that this year. I think Stetson Bennett is going to be the one that goes. Like I said, the other 4 are going to go in the top 10. Hendon Hooker is probably going to go somewhere in round 2. Stetson Bennett is probably going to go in round 3 or 4, and then I wouldn't expect anyone else before round 6. I don't know if I would spend a 3rd round pick on Stetson Bennett, but the NFL seems to be interested in him. They seem to like him.
Well, he's older than everybody's coach. So,
well, he got good reviews for his performance at the combine, though. He got very good reviews.
His combine performance came on the heels of a drunken public arrest. He doesn't have the best track record of decision.
I know, that's why I was so surprised that people were so high on his combine. But I will say, he really did get good reviews.
His combine looked great, but I mean, it's
everyone else's combine was almost. Literally, like when I say it was described as a joke, I'm not kidding. It was everyone else.
Ainer was more accurate in passing drills than Levis was, and that was not even close. Levis is one of the least accurate guys in the throwing drills.
Well, Levis
his athleticism was overstated by a mile. Yeah, the athleticism and arm talent was very overstated. Levis calling his own arm a cannon is already off-putting.
Well, Levis is off-putting, but
that's
I do see.
It screams Zach Wilson to me. It really does.
Oh, that's why I wouldn't take him.
Yeah.
I think whoever takes him in the top 10, whichever one of those teams takes him, is going to regret it big time. It's going to set him back significantly.
I grade Levis as like a mid 1st round grade. It's fine.
That's pretty average too.
Yeah, mid 1st round grade.
Quarterback inflation means that
well, that's I factored that in.
Top 10.
I factored that in. Given his give the quarterback inflation a mid 1st round grade. It's fine. I think he's a better prospect than Jordan Love.
Yeah, I'd say.
I gave Jordan Love. I actually think Jordan Love had about the right draft capital. Jordan Love, I'm fine. Late 1st round grade. I don't have a problem with that. Not sure I would have traded up for him if I were the Packers. That was a little odd. But with his overall draft capital, I didn't have a big problem with that. 102. I think the only reason people hated on it was because the Packers did it. I think if another team had done it, there wouldn't be the same kind of consternation around it because the overall draft cost spent to acquire Jordan Love made sense. It just, why did the Packers do it? And then they fell short of winning in the playoffs the next 3 years. And they're like, well, if we had a receiver, maybe that would have pushed us over the top instead of a player we couldn't use.
Maybe if we had Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, maybe. Well, Justin Jefferson was off the board, but the T. Higgins was available. 102 and a late 1st or Tyreek. 102 and a late 1st. 102 alone is worth more than Tyreek. Yeah, 102 alone is worth more than Tyreek at this point. Tyreek's already 29. I love Tyreek, but 102 alone is worth more, let alone with another late 1st. 103 and 107 and 201. 103. 103 is worth more. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 103 is worth more. 107 is a tier back. The tier ends at 106. For sure. Ooh, there's a lot of words. Okay, there's a lot of words. You can always explore any trade options, but yes, you can look to do that. I need a backup QB and a 1 QB. Not really. I wouldn't worry about that too much. If Kyler, who should I target with 210? Just get whoever you can. Target, you can get other backup quarterbacks. There's not going to be a rookie quarterback at 210 or 1 QB that you want. You can pick Will Levis there and waste the pick if you like. Yeah. There's other ways to get a backup quarterback. Wouldn't worry about it. Thank y'all for getting to my questions. I really appreciate it. That's what we're here for. As a member of the Patreon, 99% of what Tyler helps me with is talking me out of making a bunch of deals. That's probably true. I am the voice of no, the voice of reason. Yeah.
It's funny because I'm the same way. And like in my experience, the people around me, they want to like make this deal, make that deal, make this deal, that one, this one, this one. Like everyone wants to do deals. And I'm like, no, don't talk to me. Stay away from me. They're my assets. I'm not moving them.
Yeah.
Your job is to make your team better. And if every move doesn't make your team better, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
I can fuck Bills pass catchers. What do they do? Because Gabe Davis ain't it. I agree with that. I think they need someone else. What do you think their plan is? I don't know.
Well, you can upgrade Shakir with the McKenzie release, but jury's still out. They're going to add somebody else, whether it's a veteran like Hopkins or through the draft, most likely. If they add somebody like Zay Flowers, that could be interesting because Zay Flowers is definitely a more explosive receiver than Khalil Shakir. Shakir is a very steady, volume-based receiver that has good skill but not great at anything. You had a guy that's got elite quickness and short area getting open ability. Zay Flowers in Buffalo is a good fit, so I think that they'll go after a guy like that, and that changes the landscape completely because Gabe Davis is a big athletic guy who can't get open.
I still think that they're kind of looking. I'm surprised they haven't looked at a veteran. I'm surprised they weren't in on Adam Thielen.
That's yes. I mean, they hung around Cole Beasley for 2 extra years.
Well, I think the thing with Adam Thielen is they feel that Adam Thielen probably can't play outside anymore.
He hasn't needed to either.
If he were forced to play in the slot, I mean, I guess that could work. But I think they're looking for someone who can kind of play multiple roles. I don't know. I not to suggest it, but I think it's actually a good idea. I really think that they're going to be in on Odell. Because the spots for Odell are shrinking. Cowboys are out now.
Yeah.
Giants are out. Too many players have already been signed. They don't sign Paris Campbell. They signed Darius Slayton. Still have Wandale. They re-signed Sterling Shepard. They have I don't know what they're doing.
All slots. All slots.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize they signed Paris Campbell.
Paris Campbell, and they still have Isaiah Hodgins. I don't really understand what the Giants are doing. They signed all of these players. They don't really have room.
13
and they're
slot
still going to
receivers.
add another one in the draft. They're going to add a receiver in the draft. I don't
Just
really
because they
know
sign them to a contract doesn't mean they're going to make the team either.
Well, Paris Campbell and Darius Slayton have significant amounts of guaranteed money. So they're going to make the team. Like significant amounts. Like millions in guaranteed money. So they're going to make the team. I think the plan for the Giants, I think this is telling me that they don't think that Wandale Robinson is ready. Because these signings tell me that Wandale Robinson is not ready to play week 1. Because there's just no way.
No.
They wouldn't make all these signings. But I think their plan is that they're going to get a 1 in the draft. And then they'll probably start the season with, that wide receiver Slayton and Hodgins as their starters. Campbell, to me, is more of a flyer that they went for. They paid Slayton a lot more money than they paid Campbell. So I think Campbell is more of just a backup. And Wandale will probably replace Slayton or Hodgins in the starting lineup when he's ready. But I don't think they expect it to be. So they're going to have a lot of depth. And then they have Sterling Shepard still sitting around. I don't know. Weird moves from the Giants.
Sure, Brian Dable's going to find a way to get him in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Great coach.
Yeah.
It's not good enough. I need more than a 201. Inflation. I love it.
It's real.
Very real. What's the range of rookie running back that the Cowboys would add? I think they're open to any running back.
Especially with Zeke on 100%.
They haven't signed anyone in free agency. So right now they just have, Pollard and Malik Davis. I would add Malik Davis in Dynasty. Yeah. He shouldn't be on waivers. Oh, OJ Howard just signed with the Raiders. Nobody cares. Don't pick up OJ Howard. Don't pick up
Don't
OJ
do
Howard
that. Good Lord.
I think I've seen enough of him. He's already 29. He can be on someone else's roster. I'm good
29, and when everybody says how great of a blocker you are, you're not fantasy.
I don't care that he signed with the Raiders. The Raiders are not going to be able to support Hunter Renfrow and Jacoby Myers with Devontae Adams there, let alone a tight end. They don't have room for that. So, yeah, I'm good on him. As for the running back, I mean, Bijan's not going to be there at 26. I think Bijan's going to go in the top 15. So, Jahmyr Gibbs could be in play, but makes no sense with Tony Pollard.
Same.
He's a bad compliment for Tony Pollard. Jahmyr Gibbs would be the idea of, all right, it doesn't really work, but we're going to have them both here for this 1 year. Tony Pollard is going to walk after this. We're not re-signing. If they draft Jahmyr Gibbs, they're not re-signing Tony Pollard. That would be instead of after this year. I think that, I don't know. I think still that a veteran comes in. Could be Zeke back. People are like, that is not out of the question. if Zeke is willing to come back really cheap and can't find anything in free agency, I think there still is a possibility. If
Feel like
not,
the Darius Slay thing.
yeah, that's true. If not, I mean, Damian Harris would make sense. Doesn't really catch passes, not super explosive, kind of boring. He'd make sense. I would have said Devin Singletary is meeting with the Texans right now, apparently. That would make sense. I mean, I could see it. He would work. But yeah, I mean, the three that make the most sense are Damian Harris, Ezekiel Elliott himself, actually, and Devin Singletary. With Singletary being the least good fit of the three, in my opinion.
I think the Cowboys have like 21 million in cap space right now, and they could literally do anything at their pick. Like they could take a running back, they could take a wide receiver, they could take a lineman.
But I don't understand with Leonard Fournette, why wouldn't you just bring Zeke back? I think they'd rather have Zeke over Fournette. I don't know. There aren't that many running back free. I mean, there's Jerick McKinnon still out there as a free agent, but he doesn't really make sense. James Robinson is gone to the Patriots, so he's out of potential.
I think they draft 2 because they do have a few picks in the later rounds now.
Yeah,
they gave a couple, or they gave away one of them from this year to get. I
feel like they need some sort of veteran though. Like,
I don't think they do, because if
you
get a guy like Kendre Miller out of TCU with a similar body shape and size to a young Zeke with all that extra explosiveness, that's what they want, is to get that Zeke roll back where he had the burst, the 2016 through 2018 Zeke, where he was that same 5'10", 220 pounds with burst, where he was completely unstoppable. They want to bring that kind of guy back instead of just a guy who's a goal line and short yardage plotter that Zeke has become. Leonard Fournette's still like that guy too. So you're not actually improving your team by cutting somebody and getting somebody very similar at this stage of his career. They need to start that clock over and get a similar prototype to the burst that Zeke used to have. I think Kendre Miller or Izzy Abanikanda at a Pitt, or even, I mean, we've been talking about Charbonnet. Charbonnet is a perfect fit for that role alongside Pollard.
Yeah, I don't know.
Second, third round pick on a running back, that would be amazing, because those mid-tier after Gibbs and Bijan, you have 3 or 4 guys that are big and fast prospects that can slot right into that role right away.
Yeah, we'll see. They are meeting with Ronald Jones today.
God damn it. Don't do that.
Yeah, we talked about this. We'll see. Tampa could trade up. That's a long way to go.
Yeah.
They're going to go all the way up to 6 from 19. That's going to cost them.
They can't do it. Not after they signed Baker. They're committed to Baker and draft at this point.
Yeah.
I will say this.
That'd be awesome.
I don't hate, but I honestly just don't see them doing it.
No.
I just don't see them doing it.
They don't have the
I know it's. I think they're pretty committed to Jared Goff more than we think.
Goff did great last year.
I mean, they've said so. Like,
people are dissing Jared Goff like he didn't have a great season.
If we listen to their words, they're saying they're very committed to Jared Goff. So,
and the way they've been making moves says that they're committed to Jared Goff.
The way they're making moves says they're committed to. So I think Detroit's more likely to trade down in the draft and pick a quarterback. And then on top of that, trading for Lamar after the draft, maybe. But I'm not leaning that way right now. We'll have to see.
I don't know what Detroit's going to do. They could take a strong edge at 6, but trading back is also always really nice.
Oh yeah, I mean they could. Yeah, this mock here has them taking Tyree Wilson.
I would take that.
That could be interesting.
I mean, because they're a fringe playoff team at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're favored to win the North at this point.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something?
That'd be awesome.
I think that it's really interesting to see what Arizona does at 3. I think that's going to unlock the entire draft.
I'm just hoping they don't take Will Anderson because I want that amazing prospect to go to a team that doesn't just hate its players so much. Like Arizona Cardinals ownership hates that they own the team.
Well, they
They hate
charge
everything. They
for
hate
everything.
everything about their players. They hate everything about owning an NFL franchise. Why don't you just sell to somebody who wants to own a team? And you get Will Anderson, who is the next Javon Curse. If you remember the freak back in the Tennessee Titans days, this is Will Anderson today, is the next Javon Curse. And him going to Arizona would just be tragic because I want to see this guy play on a team that's serious.
Yeah, I feel that.
Arizona, please don't take Will Anderson. I don't care who else you take. You can take Tyree. I would love it if you took Tyree because Tyree's got the upside to grow within that organization. Will Anderson's already there.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just curious who would. So if you go like Stroud at 1 and Bryce Young at 2, then Arizona has like some leverage because
they should trade back.
But who would want to jump up and take a quarterback? That's the question. And would they overpay for it? Because you could just snipe Indianapolis like that.
Yeah.
Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta would be good.
Yeah. If anybody, Indy should be moving up one spot to make sure they get the guy they want.
Right.
They might.
But we know that they're not very smart either.
No, they're not. They're very much not.
That has been demonstrated many times.
Very true.
It's fine.
Anyway,
Jeff Saturday's got it.
We got to the bottom of the chat, and before I pass out for still being sick, we'll wrap up the show. You guys got anything else you want to plug? Plug your stuff one more time.
All right, so I am Bo McBrayer. I go by Bo_McBigTime on Twitter. That's where I post everything. My link tree is on my Twitter bio. I am the king of spice. I own BigTimeFlavor.co, where you can get the most deliciously intense condiment on planet Earth. That's Hotbox Gourmet Hot Sauce. It's been a lot of fun. Just stay busy out there. Keep cashing. You can check out all my work on Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros, along with In Between Media.
And of course, I am Austin, one half of the Makeshift Managers podcast, live every Monday night at 6:30 Pacific time, because we're dirty Californians. And tonight we'll just be kind of doing the same thing we did here today, talking a lot of free agency and impacts. I really want to we're probably going to dive into Olave tonight because Olave is interesting. Now that Carr is there, like Olave had I won't get into it too much right now, but like Olave had a decent season with Dalton and missing games. So what is he like now with Derek Carr?
I love that.
Man.
And yeah, you can find my stuff at Tyler FF Creator. All my ratings at DLF. All the YouTube stuff is here. If you like it, subscribe, and leave a comment. Especially those comments really help promote the algorithm. And then if you really want to support me, the best way to do that is through my Patreon here. And I just appreciate this from Toronto Dave. A rare show for me, full of substance. I know those are rare, but I, when I'm sick, I guess I don't have time for the nonsense or the energy for nonsense. I focus more on the substance. And thanks for this from FF Lefty. And I don't want Isaiah Pacheco. No. We can close the show out on that.
How is he getting any value whatsoever? I don't understand.
I get it on Twitter all the time. So many questions.
Don't understand.
Yeah, the things I've seen on your Twitter with Pacheco, I'm like,
I know.
If you could sell Pacheco for that, I'm down.
I know.
I don't even have Pacheco to sell for that.
But yeah, thanks everyone for watching or listening. If you're listening to this on podcast, and I'll be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We have a pretty large crew for that show. Should have a lot of discussion about some of the free agency stuff, and hopefully I'm feeling better. But either way, I will see you all then.